Welcome to the Wolfpacker Weekend Preview. I'm your host, Thomas Frank Carr, coming to you live from Utah. I want to thank my in-laws for allowing me to set up for the holiday season in their office in a mobile studio. Super appreciate that. So let's get to this, talk about the Holiday Bowl, NC State and UCLA. This is going to be an interesting game for NC State because I think it's a test that should be one that they can pass. One that I've seen them do many times so far this season. And there's probably a lot of talk you've heard about some of the stars for UCLA, in particular Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the quarterback. We're going to get into a lot about how he operates because he is the engine that drives the offense from the overall perspective. But I want to get into, on first the offense, the real star of the offense, the guy that is the best football player, and that would be Zach Charbonnet. He is a tank coming over from Michigan, 1,100 rushing yards, 69 missed forced tackles. He is a big, physical, mean, downhill running back. And just to give you kind of an idea of so far the season he's had as a reference point, his PFF rank in rushing is 4th in the nation. So he's a bruiser. He's a guy that in their man blocking system, they are coming downhill at you. So NC State's going to have to prepare for that. As far as the offensive line goes, good run blockers. There are no real dominant offensive lines in college football, really. Not one that 1 to 5, you have guys that are going to dominate at every single position. This is a good defense, a good offensive unit that works together, and I think that they can be effective in their man, power, and zone blocking schemes. They've got some good concepts too. So it's not just your traditional powers and counters. They'll find new launch points, new points of attack to go and try to find a way to get Zach Charbonnet downhill while making it look like a different type of offense. Again, when they run zone, when they do run some of that, a lot of misdirection, read option with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get one-on-one situations for Charbonnet and make sure he is able to break those. And as you see, almost 70 missed tackles so far this season. Not one guy's bringing him down. So make sure you focus on him would be my plan of attack for the NC State defense. And don't worry so much about Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the runner. Now, he is one of the most electric quarterbacks in college football. But how we get there, I think, is the interesting part and the part there might be a misconception of. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is a good runner, but he's primarily a scrambler. He's not a guy that is in a lot of designed runs where he's keeping the ball. That's Charbonnet's job. They don't want to run him too much, but you see, when he does run the ball, this is a bit of a problem from a scrambling position because of his 700 yards so far this season, 706, 12th in the nation. He's over half of that. He's scrambling after the pass, after the structure of the offense has broken down. So in situations where he's trying to run the ball as a designed runner, yes, he's going to get yards. He is one of the better quarterbacks in the nation, but the true threat is when he's throwing the football and he holds onto it and decides then to take off. Now, when it comes to how he throws the football, another interesting situation where I don't know that this is exactly a strength of the UCLA offense, where a lot of what he does is out of structure. One read, if he sees it pre-snap and he get to that progression, great. But when you throw complicated coverages at him or you force tight windows, he's very safe with the football, which is what makes him a good quarterback, makes them one of the better teams in the country, but he's not generating a lot of offense with his arm. And what that does is it puts a lot of pressure on the secondary to cover for a good amount of time. His time to throw, 3.1 seconds, is an eternity in football. And that puts him 21st in college football. So there's some quarterbacks that hold on to the ball forever. Again, as an elusive guy, you'd think he avoids sacks really well, but not really. If you can get to him, if you can, even out in the flat after he's broken the pocket, he'll give up sacks. 20% of his pressures turn into sacks. And again, when he's looking downfield after he's broken contain and he's extending the play, that is where he's trying to throw the football down the field. His average depth of target is almost 11 yards. That is a crazy number. If you think of 7.5 to 8 as average, he's well above that. But the effectiveness on those deep passes is the problem for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He is not super accurate in the Pac-12. He's the 13th ranked passer as far as accuracy on deep attempts at 38% of those. That's just what's accurate. That's not even what's caught. That doesn't include drops and things like that. So Dorian Thompson-Robinson is a really interesting and kind of complicated football player to break down because there's so many different facets of his game, but it's also an area where I think if you can get to him, you can manage the football game. And the key is just keep him in the pocket and don't let him extend plays. Don't let him be explosive with the ball in his hands. Don't let him get out into the second level of the defense against linebackers and safeties, because that is when he's going to be able to defeat you. So the goal, I would think, would be for the NC State defense to contain rush. You're not trying to beat the offensive linemen at all costs, which I think is why the UCLA offense and the offensive line, they're good. There's nothing wrong particularly with them, but I wouldn't say that they're elite pass blockers. I wouldn't say they're elite athletes in a lot of different ways. What they do have is nobody wants to rush the passer hard after Dorian Thompson-Robinson and give him escape lanes out of the pocket. You want to keep him in the pocket, make sure he holds onto the football, and that's going to put some stress on your secondary. They have to cover a little bit longer, they have to keep tight windows, and they can't allow him to get those easy completions. So disguise coverage, stay with your man, and if you're playing zone, be disciplined. Keep your eyes on the quarterback, feel where the routes are, and you've had a couple weeks to prepare, so you should know the offense pretty well and know what's coming. There's a lot of play action, and that's where I think they try to attack and try to break down that zone and defensive discipline. This is a great situation for NC State. If there's one thing they do really well, it's play team defense. Their defensive line is already set up to keep quarterbacks in the pocket. They're not a heavy pressure team. They're much more of a control at the line of scrimmage team in the run and the pass, and they'll send a couple blitzers to get some quick pressures or to, flush the quarterback into a stunt or something like that. So good secondary play, discipline, all of these things line up for NC State to be able to handle the UCLA offense, which is where I think you've seen them struggle the most. Now, the defense on the other side is an interesting mix of things from the college football level, because typically what you have is run defense comes first and pass defense comes second. But for the UCLA secondary, they're actually much better than the run defense. They've only allowed 15 touchdowns so far this season. That's third lowest in the Pac-12. That's a good number across the country. So making sure that they are, you don't throw to them and you don't give them any easy opportunities. Devin Leary's been very good about that this season, but I don't know this is going to be his game to take over. That being said, I don't know that UCLA has faced a team like NC State with a guy like Devin Leary and a guy like Emeka Emezi and a passing attack that can be so effective down the football field. They're not perfect. They're just the best part of this defense. So don't give them anything easy. Make sure you're playing smart football in the passing game, controlled, and a lot of that will come to you because their rush defense is not very good. UCLA's defense, again, as a kind of a barometer for how well they've played against the run, 100th in rush defense rank according to PFF. This is not a very good front seven. And that's not to say they don't have athletes, because there's different ways you can get to having poor rush defense, right? You can have guys that are being overwhelmed at the point of attack, guys that don't hold up against double teams, linebackers that are small and they're getting beat. None of that's really the case with UCLA. They are just super undisciplined, especially against zone blocking schemes where they want to play games and they want to shoot back across the zone formation to get those quick, easy penetrations, some stunts, things like that. Guys overrun their zone and they overrun their gap all the time for UCLA. So Ricky Person Jr. and Zonovan Knight, this is going to be a big game for them because there's going to be some running room, and making sure that you establish that and you take advantage of that will open up everything else. As soon as they have to put an extra safety down in the box, they'll play cover zero quite a bit. They'll try to sell out to get those short yardage stops. And if you can do that, then the big time passing attack will come open. But typically UCLA trying to play more coverage, two safeties, get them out of that, and you've got them off balance. That should be the plan of attack for the NC State offense. And I don't think that Ekwonu is going to have a hard time. Ike Ekwonu is going to have a really good game because, yes, they're not terrible athletes, but there's nobody on that defense that really stacks up to his run blocking ability and his ability to absolutely maul at the line of scrimmage. So it's going to be there. There's going to be some mistakes in the running game, and that is going to set up for exactly what NC State wants to do. Play action, open up some big passing windows down the field for Devin Leary. So in the end, I think this is going to be a very good game for NC State, as long as everyone makes it to the game. With all the COVID situations, again, at recording, nobody has tested positive publicly. There's been no issue with that. So I think NC State should get a secure win in the Holiday Bowl against a team that maybe has some good players, maybe has a lot of flash, maybe has Chip Kelly, sure, but they're not the better football team, especially not on tape. That'll do it today for the Wolfpacker Weekend Preview. I'm your host, Thomas Frank Carr. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in seeing more, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and you hit the notification button, because this offseason, we're going to do more when it comes to some offseason scouting, some draft scouting, some scouting of recruits as we dive into the 2022 season and the offseason. I'm your host, Thomas Frank Carr, film analyst for On3. That has been the Wolfpacker Weekend Preview.